Hello and welcome to
We don't
Actions. I
have your
think you're on
computer.
mute.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry, I'm
Delayed
super
action,
laggy.
Sohail.
It's true. There's no action. I'm super laggy, so I might have to actually log out and log back in, guys.
Oh dear.
I'm not sure what's going on, but you guys know how to do the show. So we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Sohail. We're talking about the animated series. Take it over, Aaron.
What? No. Okay. We are talking about How Sharper Than a Serpent's Tooth, and I am horrible at recaps, so I'll wait for Sohail to come, or Fathery, who will be here later. He's getting a beard trim. He's gonna pop
Yeah,
in.
no, this is one of the few episodes I actually have seen more than once, but I don't know if I can do the summary off the top of my head. I know there's something about a
I'm horrible.
probe they're following that
Yeah.
had been to Earth, and yeah, and
I
then
wanted to see that probe. Actually, that would have been kind of interesting. Like they apparently it went to Earth and tried to signal somebody and didn't get a response, and they
yeah,
blew it up or something. It's just like, wow, that sounds kind of like a little bit like the whale probe.
yeah,
Tiny bit.
yeah, and then they kind of follow the path along which from which it came and encounter. You get sort of Corbomite maneuver vibes. A massive vessel is approaching. And this vessel, I'm sure we'll talk about. Well, I guess I'm sort of doing a half-ass summary here. So continue with that. They meet with this.
I can read the memory alpha.
Oh, that might be a lot better than what's about to happen if I actually try to summarize this. So, but please do.
Here's the summary. Captain's log, stardate 60631.4. The Enterprise is tracing the origin of a mysterious alien space probe. It approached the Federation homeworlds, made a scan of Earth's system, and then signaled outward into space. But before it could be intercepted, the probe self-destructed. This is his captain's log. Sorry. We're following a trail of disrupted matter left by the by the probe's highly advanced propulsion system. Thus, so far, the trail has not intercepted any inhabited star systems. That's not really a summary, but okay. that's his captain's log.
That's how we get started. Here's our glorious leader.
There.
Hey guys, thank you.
We were floundering there. Can we edit that? This is live, right?
Neither of us are great at doing the recap, and I mean, I wrote a book about it literally, so it's just like.
No, I think from what I heard, you guys nailed it, so it's fine. Wherever you read it from, it's totally great. Welcome back, everyone. I see that I'm no longer lagged. So what happened was,
yeah, you look good.
Just as a technical thing for those of you who do this streaming stuff, I had turned hardware graphic acceleration off on my browser because that's the only way you can do screenshots.
Yep.
I forgot to turn it back on, and then it freaked out. So remember to turn on your graphic acceleration.
I think mine's off. It seems to be okay.
Oh, well, then you have a better computer than me. Maybe my computer doesn't like it's like whatever it's like. But anyways, we're back. So yeah,
halfway through it's gonna freeze up or something.
So yeah, I guess we're talking about ancient aliens. We got some fun things to go over here. It's nice to see so many folks coming into the stream. We only have one episode after this left, and I'm so sad. So this is our penultimate episode of the animated series, and then after this, we're moving on.
Although we're going to dive into I'm Drawn to Trek. We're going to do some.
That's true. Nice, thank you. Yes, we are, and I can't wait till you guys see Drawn to Trek. You can watch archived older episodes, right, or listen to them rather. On
but some of them are
they're videos. Very cool.
Yeah, there was when we did Jesse, Gender, and I were those are recorded.
Oh, very cool.
And I guess you could go back and see the one that we did on Text Treks last year too.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Yeah, so you can find them. They're just sort of spread out in a couple different places. So
your podcast is the best name for animated.
It took a while to come up with that. I still like Saturday Morning Trek, which was our original, but it's like this makes more sense because it's not just TAS. It's the other two shows.
There's quite a few folks who are looking forward to this episode, including the sub commander here. Donna, welcome to our live stream, and Sleep Stories ASMR. I'm gonna have to check out your channel because I love ASMR. By the way, you guys don't know this, but we have a small but very loyal ASMR audience. That's why we try to make sure our mics are always as nice as possible, because they say that sometimes we do like ASMR-y things on the show. So I appreciate that as well. Welcome Joel, Jill, John, Canada Bear. There's so many cool folks in the chat. We'll try to get all your comments in here. Jill already has a question for us, which is, So is Kukulkan? I keep trying not to say Kukulkan like Captain Kirk.
Kukulkan
The one
and
who
Fran
told
and Ollie.
who told the Mayans the world would end in 2012. I don't know. I don't know. Is
I
that
could take
right?
that one a little bit. I mean,
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure how serious she meant the question, but yeah, that sort of myth originated before the kind of cult of Kukulkan rose up. So we can't blame Kukulkan for that. And really, if you dig into that too much, it really wasn't about the end of the world, rather than just sort of a renewal kind of event.
Right.
Yeah, I love all these connections to Mesoamerican stuff. It's because that's another hobby of mine. So I love that question.
I think you guys already mentioned that Russell Bates wrote this episode while I was gone. And is David Wise related to Robert Wise?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Just another Wise person.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they both have passed.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
very
we
cool.
got to talk with David before he did, because I had been talking with him for a few years. Actually, I talked with Russell as well, but because the book was still hadn't signed the contract, they didn't want us to do any interviews at that point. Although I guess I should have just done it for my podcast and then just kept the information. So we unfortunately, between when the contract was started and when it was signed, Russell passed away. So we did not get any official firsthand conversation with him.
Oh, okay. John is mentioning here, everyone be sure to change to live chat and not top chat in YouTube stream. I don't even know what that is. That's interesting. Thanks,
Top
John.
chat,
But
messages as potential spam may not be visible. Live chat, all messages are visible.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to
be
watch
on the live
spam,
chat.
no, go to live chat.
It's true. We're pretty good. We have really good moderators, so they do pretty good. And I have a lot. I feel like almost everyone in the audience is a moderator. So I don't know what that says about the state of my chats, but we have a lot of good folks watching out.
That's funny.
Joel says I listened to Wise's Blu-ray commentary last week. Very cool. I didn't know there was a commentary on the Blu-ray. We got a new character this week who coincidentally happens to be serving on the bridge when this like relevant alien comes into the situation. What did you guys think of the new character, Mr. Walking Bear, as opposed to Mr. Running Bear or Mr. Sleeping Bear?
Yeah. Or Mr. Canada Bear, who's in our audience.
Yes, exactly.
I really like that. I mean, obviously it was sort of a convenient device for this story, but the Star Trek continues its tradition of trying to have an inclusive crew and bridge. He's, I guess, pretty much the first character we see of Native American ancestry, but he's certainly not the last. We'll see another one in the motion picture in the kind of the crowd scene. I think I sent you an image of that, Sohel, in your Twitter feed. If you're curious, and then of course Chakotay later on and others. So I thought that was a great addition. Yes, it felt a little forced in some ways, or at least obviously it's to provide a forward momentum for the story. But I thought that was great.
Very cool. I'm seeing the picture now. Oh yeah, I remember her. Oh, that's really cool. I'll try to get this downloaded and onto the screen here. What about you, Aaron? Mr. Walking Bear?
I liked it a lot, especially because if you look at the representation of other races and cultures in 1970s cartoons, not such a great track record. Hong Kong Phooey and stuff like that. It's just like, so he wasn't, they didn't talk in that really fake kind of Native American speech that they would, how now, or not how now, whatever.
Yeah, how now, brown cow, or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
I can't even do it. It's like I grew up in Washington State near a reservation too, so it's like that was not something you'd ever want to do. So never practiced.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, I really liked it, and the fact that it was created by a Native American character, or I am fighting a flu. Sorry, Native American writer, and he made it Comanche instead of his, I think, Kiowa, his actual tribe, because he knew that kids would probably understand Comanche more because it's been used in pop culture. So
yeah, I mean, one thing we'll dive in, but I quite liked how there's there's I like how they're trying to access some of these Native American stories and some of the imagery, and yes, some of it is a pastiche, and the Comanches don't have much to do with the Maya, either in time or space, at least the imagery that we're seeing, but they do it very respectfully, and it's a nice introduction to kind of spark the interest of a young person in some of these things and go on from there. So I really enjoyed that aspect of the story.
Yeah, like Jill said,
Yeah, and
Walking Bear studied many cultures, so I kind of
yeah,
feel
I
like
was gonna
he's
say
sort
the
of
same thing.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But here's the character
Nice.
from the motion picture, which is cool.
I thought there was a male as well, a guy.
There might have been.
Am I imagining that? Maybe I am.
Maybe. Here's Kukulkan's vessel. I like the speaking of the motion picture, I like that there was this energy cloud of immense power, as Spock described it, around the ship. So that's what you see first, is like just like V'ger, and
Mhm.
then you see the ship emerge through there. And I like the technology of encasing the Enterprise in a bubble, like a shield bubble, if you will, and preventing it from causing any potential harm to it and everything like that. So it's very advanced technology, a very old, very advanced technology. So another one of these kind of like elder, ancient alien races that Star Trek brings up. I
That
guess.
actually is a point for this last episode of Discovery, which I won't talk about here, but it's just sort of like oh, they didn't have that back then. I'm like, the galaxy didn't all progress at the same time, right? And you're looking for a weapon or a thing that's like really powerful from billions of years ago. Like you would think. Anyway, that was the
Yeah,
one
that's
thing.
a really
Like,
good
that
point.
didn't make
Yeah.
sense. But I like that it sort of looks like a warp bubble almost. It reminds me of the thing that Beverly was stuck in.
Oh yeah. I thought of the Tholian web when I saw that, a ceramic Tholian web, but but I like the warp bubble much better.
Handcrafted.
Mhm.
The moving further into the TMP connection here, I thought that the front of the ship resembled
Ooh,
the V'ger Matrix thing,
yes.
Oh yeah, I didn't even thought of that. That's cool.
which was really cool. And they both use holographic technology, I think, or like at
Yeah,
least
yeah.
V'ger's digitizing. So I really enjoyed that. I know it's not exactly the same from the side of the ship, but I'm obsessed with the
No,
ship
that shot
because
there, that was fabulous.
Yeah.
And this ship, isn't this amazing, this ship? I love this ship. I mean, I love that it has this really creative, colorful, interesting design. You don't
Has a
normally
lot
see
of detail,
colorful.
and I can tell you that because I actually had to draw it.
Yeah. And then projecting this hologram on it of the actual kind of feathered serpent, or what they're doing for the feathered serpent, is just such an interesting idea, rather than having the ship be, actually physically really resemble a feathered serpent. It was just kind of projected. So it's hinted at. I mean, I just thought it was such an amazing ship. I really loved that.
Yeah, ditto. And yeah, the artwork in this is very beautiful. We have a little show and tell that Aaron has. So let me know when you want to pop those slides on screen. But
We can wait till we get towards the end. I think
towards the end,
got,
cool. All right.
Yeah, we got stuff from the city in there as well.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah.
And
So yeah,
while this is up, I just want to wax pretentious for a second. So, so if you're familiar with it, so the name Kukulkan, this is just the Maya version of Quetzalcoatl, which, if you break it down, is Quetzal, which is a bird, and Coatl, which is snake. And if you can look at video of a Quetzal bird, which is indigenous to Central America. If you look at a male when it's flying, it has these iridescent, very long tail feathers, kind of a greeny blue tail feather, and as it flies, they kind of undulate, and it really does almost look like the motion of a snake. I mean, it doesn't look too much like this drawing here, which I like the drawing anyway, but it's a fascinating connection. And you can see this cult of a feathered serpent was all throughout the region, different names and different times and different ways of kind of engaging with it, but it was a sort of a pan Central American religious icon.
Yeah.
Jill also points out that Kukulkan was in Marvel too. He was gorgeous. Yes, he was quite gorgeous, but he looked more like a dude in that. And Sky Snake, very cool. Yeah, I love it.
We'll just get this out of the way. Kukulkan.
Kukulkan. I
Yep.
stole that from you, and I put it on my tweet when I tweeted out.
Oh, did you? I didn't see that.
Yeah, totally. I love the shock when he's like, "It's Kukulkan." Everyone's like, "Oh."
Who?
And then
Kukulkan Noonien Singh. Yeah.
I like how everybody
here-
disappears at the same time. It's like,
here's my episode husband this week. And
he
poor
looks like he
thing,
should be on Scooby Doo or something. He's got a little bit of that sort of
that sort of thing here.
We
surprise.
need to come up with a backstory for this guy because we just
Yeah.
catch the end of this interaction. Like, well, you remember the words better than I do, but it's something happened with this dude, and I don't know. That reaction is priceless. So,
Oh yeah, it was McCoy says,
oh, you're
He said-
lucky.
yeah,
He
you
said
don't
something
deserve
like-
it, yeoman, but you're getting a few days bed rest. And then McCoy
Well, yeah.
vanishes. Like, okay.
I'm like dying to know what he did to not deserve bed rest for Dr.
Yeah.
McCoy to be upset with him.
He looked seriously embarrassed, so it was probably great.
I'll have to add that into Star Trek Adventures if we ever go back and need more characters. I'll just throw this yeoman in there.
It sounds like he got a sticky kind of bug that is hard to get rid of in a stupid way, and Dr. McCoy's really annoyed. Like, how could you catch Plumerian tickworm fever? You should know better. Or whatever.
Didn't he get upset about somebody who was clumsy too? Like once, it was just like,
Oh yeah, I have no sympathy for clumsiness. Yeah,
yeah. So it's like maybe it's back in the
enemy within. Yeah, it,
Yeah,
it sort of looks like that guy.
Everybody's the same guy. It's just and he hurt over and over again.
But I put him up here also not only just because he's my episode husband, but because he's really cute, but also because he's probably the first male yeoman that we see in Star Trek. So that's pretty cool that the animated series did that. And then of course, I think the next time we see a yeoman whose male is in Star Trek 6 is, from my understanding, from what I saw in Memory Alpha, which is Yeoman Burke and Samno. So yeah.
So both chronologically and within the show too, in the universe. Is there any in Star Trek Strange New Worlds? I don't think there is. Have we seen a male
I haven't seen a
yeoman
male yeoman in Strange New
Okay.
Worlds as far as I remember, but there
there?
could have
Jill says
been. That's,
Pike had a male yeoman before Colt.
oh, there we go. There we go. Now
Was
we
he
know.
called a yeoman on the screen? I don't know. You mean that there was I know there was some guy who had like a clipboard, or did they refer to like his yeoman being killed on? Anyway, we're getting off topic, but before the
I
cage
did a
begins
brief
on
look
my
at before the show, and I didn't see anything about him, so I don't know.
we need a deep dive on yeoman episodes.
We'll have to do.
Hey,
a
that'll
whole
be our.
yeoman-
That's the first thing that we'll do. So Hill, we'll just do the yeomans of Star Trek,
yeoman special.
using this one character as the jumping off point.
I think that's the first time I've seen Spock do the "oh my" animated thing, so I just had to capture it. And I really like this the effect that they did to beam him away. I just like the way that the image looks here. It's very cool. It reminds me of like the alternative factor, the antimatter
Yeah, there's some
kind
negative
of
stuff
thing.
going on there.
Negative
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, very cool. And then again, just as far as I think of how pretty this episode is, like there's so many great frames. Like this one is like really cool. Like I just like them all standing around in shadows looking
Plastic
at the,
silhouette. Yeah.
yeah, it's very cool.
Look, we don't have to draw anything. just outlines.
And of course they're on the ship, on Kukulkan's ship, and then it's got this like incredible magical technology, like holographic kind of technology, and so then they're transported to the city. And I just thought it's funny that Kukulkan like went to Earth like in the past, taught like several human civilizations, and then we find out that the city was supposed to be built to a certain specification, and none of our civilizations got it right. Like humans couldn't get the city right, no matter what. So then he sat out there like waiting, and he's like, these people they're just awful.
2,000 years, they still come on.
Yeah, like Joel's analogy that it's like it's escape room.
I like that little hieroglyphic rendering of the Kukulkan. Which,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
I was thinking of making that into a shirt or something.
It is a really cool graphic. It's
Yeah.
the art in this episode, the background plates, everything. It's just like really, really great. Like I really love it.
Yeah, I like the one that's sort of like an Anubis / Sphinx thing.
Yeah.
The kind of a combo of those is kind of interesting.
And then it looks
Did
like
they know
Chinese
that there were?
dragon on top of that
Yeah.
portal.
Did they know they were only getting 6 episodes this season, or was the show suddenly?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
that was pretty traditional for 70s cartoons. You get one really longer season and then a shorter one, and then they would mix in more to make it the same length but with repeats, because the assumption was children didn't remember when they had seen an episode or not, which is tells you how much time people have thought about how children have changed, because like people wouldn't do that anymore. Like kids are still humans, they still can remember things. That always bugged me as a kid. I'm like, this is not new.
Yeah, it's like kind of underestimating kids. I love this like Raiders of the Lost Ark, pre-Raiders of the Lost Ark idea of like pointing the nice and great minds of pointing these things at this this monument, and then it summons Kukulkan, and the effects, if you will, are like really amazing. I was thrilled by the sequence. Like it was a very good sequence.
And you know, whether it was deliberate or not, it does touch on something that's kind of fundamental in a lot of Mesoamerican cultures, which is this idea of directionality in the universe, and how there's the 4 directions and the center, and each one is associated with certain properties, a certain color, certain deities overrule it. And I kind of liked, whether they were deliberate or not, as I said, you know, riffing on the idea you had to get the 4 directions correct to meet in the middle to produce the effect, you know, to get it perfect. I thought that was really interesting.
That is really cool.
It might be
very
intentional, just given the people who were working on it.
Yeah.
Joel says it went over budget, apparently. Is that right? Or maybe you're just joking about that.
I don't remember.
I think, you know, I was just looking at the Memory Alpha page of it this morning, and I think it did go over budget, but because there wasn't a lot of like pure action sequence, so there was a lot of talking. So maybe they're just, if they're paying by the whatever, the hour, the minute, or the page.
Yeah. And they had everybody together except for Shatner. That's why he doesn't pronounce it the same way. But
Kukulkan.
Even his
Kukulkan.
all their voice acting got much better this season, I think. It felt like they were getting the hang of animation. But,
yes, Romulans do know things. This is a delight and a treat, because this happens to be an area of interest of study for our sub commander. So, like, yeah, please give us all the nuggets.
I'm trying not to be too boring, but it's it's fascinating.
There was also some story that I heard that's like, it was so much better animation because they had these Japanese animators in that they had to have a specific number of hours that they filled, so they put them on this. And I asked Bob about that. He's like, I have never heard of that. I don't think that happened. So it's possible that they interviewed Bill Reed, who is the director of this, who doesn't seem to have much memory of it or anything. So it's possible that
there's a spinning tail there.
Plated 2 different things and put it, you know, which is completely possible. No one who was working on this cartoon was like, 50 years from now, I better remember this story because talk about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting about this sequence and this whole part is like, so they get beamed aboard Kukulkan's ship, and then it's kind of like, you know, they're presented with this holographic city. They had to do this thing, and then they summon the actual, I guess, Kukulkan, who, where was he? Wasn't he on the ship? Like, already?
He was on the bridge, just hanging out.
I guess so. Yeah, there's like a fancy transporter, I guess. And so he gets transported into this main chamber, and then we find out that he has a menagerie of his own, so to speak, and he's got all these different, and they're all in these glass things or whatever. But he swears that they're how does he put it, contented and safe, and that they're so he's using, similar to the Telosians, like a power of like illusion to make these creatures believe that they are in their habitats and safe and happy and so on and so forth. So I thought that was really high concept and interesting and neat, kind of stuff. And I just love the designs of all these like aliens. And I really think that they should somehow incorporate some of these into newer Star Trek now that we have CGI
Lower Decks
and
would
all
be
that stuff.
interesting.
Yeah. Or even on Lower Decks, just to like bring some of these things back, especially the Trump hair creature that's over there.
I asked Bob this morning. I was like, "What is this?" It's like, it looks like an avocado with Trump's hair. And he's like, "That's the best explanation I've heard." It's like, I have no idea. I think they just drew weird things, essentially.
Yeah, I love that guy with the eyes going in all directions.
Hey, we've got Father from his shuttlecraft
Oh, wow.
here. Pay attention to
Don't
the
crash.
space plane there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can totally hear you. Nice to see you there,
cool.
Father.
Last time I tried to message in from my phone. You couldn't hear me, remember?
I know. We don't know what was going on, but that was the late night situation. Maybe during the daytime, it's a little bit better. But nice to see you. So we're at the part where Kukul. We're what?
I was asking if the echo cancellation was working, or if there was an echo.
It was, but there's also a weird like subspace delay going on, which is interesting. But oh, now you're on mute.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's on mute now. Can you unmute him?
Yeah.
Oh, Jill, you're right. We did miss Fathery during the summary.
Yes.
All right, he'll be back.
But we also didn't really try too hard for the actual summary.
Well, this way it's a nice surprise for everyone.
Yes.
So maybe we'll wait a little longer for Father and talk about the Capellan Power Cat. Yeah. Here he is.
Somebody pointed out that McCoy recognized it probably because he spent like 4 months on Capella.
That's right. Yeah, great.
Oh,
great,
yeah,
great
that's
connection. Right. Yeah.
Those were the dudes that wore the funny, among the many dudes that wore the funny,
the like purple lavender boas and black spandex.
Friday's Child is the name of the episode.
Yes. I could ride them like Battle Cat.
Interestingly enough, the flower in the next episode is a Capellan orchid or something like that. It's also Capellan.
Capellan. What was it? Some. Yeah, I'll look it up.
Some like Capellan bloom or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's just maybe flower.
I like Joel's comparison of this to them being in the Matrix, kind of like a zoo Matrix.
Right. No, it's true.
Well, I hope they get exercise, because just sitting there, they're not like everything's gonna kind of atrophy.
Yeah.
Apparently you're like because like when you dream, your muscles, like when you think you're running, your muscles kind of like, that's why your body paralyzes that's why our brains somehow paralyze our bodies while we're in deep sleep, in REM sleep, so that we're not like flailing around and moving. But yeah, so apparently there's a way to do that. I'd love it if I could go to sleep, get a full body workout, and just wake up ripped in the morning. That would be really
You'd
great.
be so tired though. You wouldn't rest.
I don't know. That's true. That's a good point.
It's just a Capellan flower. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm bummed that these animals only get a few minutes of freedom and then back to the Matrix. I don't know. Maybe Kukulkan will set them free, although they are maybe the last of their kind, some of them.
Yeah. I mean, if they save them, that's something, at least. Although, I hope that they would save it so they could keep producing, but
thou shalt make no alien without a horn. Gene Roddenberry.
Well, I mean, and I guess this is the scene where we really hear more about what Kukulkan is about, and wanting them. I mean, it's the same as Who Mourns for Adonais, where you have this god that or this alien that presented as a god when it visited Earth long ago and brought wisdom or technology or whatever to the people, and in exchange for worship, and then that relationship ends, and meanwhile they advance into the future and meet again, and the alien wants to keep that relationship the same, but the people have just outgrown it. So it's another kind of lonely old alien god creature. But I
of
like
its
it.
kind.
It's a neat idea.
I wonder what happened, what kind of cataclysm occurred to make it so that Kukulkan is the last of his kind, and what they were like. And yeah, it's neat. Again, like these like old ancient aliens. It's for lack of a better word. It's
Yeah,
very cool.
who else was real? Like other than Kukulkan and Apollo, like how many gods were actually just aliens visiting Earth in the Star Trek universe?
Yeah, like Lucian, right? Wasn't he sort of?
Oh yeah, Lucian. That's right.
So
they
a lot
just
of
need to get like a conference together, and then everybody can just hang out. When did you visit Earth?
So while all that's going on, Spock comes up with a brilliant idea, which is like, oh, the field can only handle one direction of force at a time. So they decide to use this really cool ray drill type thing, like a laser drill, and then also reverse engines at the same time. And I just like the sequence. I thought it was also exciting. It was done really well. And then Kukulkan.
Almost looks
right,
like
it's like
a from here.
Yeah, it's like a little chain drill or something like that. I would love to see that also on Star Trek more. Is that like a couple times you see on the Next Generation different things being emitted from the phaser banks that are not necessarily phasers, like different kinds of pulses and stuff like that. But it would be cool to see that more also. I think that's a neat idea that you don't just have to have phasers coming out.
They should have emitted like little rats or mice from Petco to distract Quetzalcoatl or Kukulkan, so he'd try to eat them, as a snake, and get all tired and sleepy and engorged, and then they could make their escape. Activate Rat Ray, or
that makes me wonder if a fight between Kukulkan and the Capellan cat would have ended in Kukulkan swallowing the Capellan cat.
They could use the gossamer mice that they have in sickbay.
Oh yes,
there you go.
That's true. More creatures, and then Kirk, he's like, "Oh, let's create some chaos to help Spock out."
Yeah,
so he's good at that.
He really is.
I do like the attachments and stuff. Whatever, I guess maybe it's their air flow or what. Yeah, who knows now? But when you break them off, maybe they'll just die because they don't have the same air. But yeah, it looks kind of cool. It's weird, but
it's true. Hey Joanne, nice to see you. And we get Dr. Seuss like. Yeah, there are some Dr. Seuss like those guys there in the middle. They're like fire flower things or something like that.
They look like dandelions, like weed or whatever
So then the Enterprise breaks free and they attack the ship, and this is when Kukulkan's just kind of like, "Oh, I knew it, you guys everything I said about you was true."
It's a little bit mixed at this point though, where he says one thing and then that's not really what you're looking for. Like, I don't know. It's just this is where I think the show could have taken an extra 15 minutes. It suffers from it being a 22-minute episode because I think they could have fleshed out the ending a little bit better. It just sort of kind of wraps up pretty quickly.
Yeah,
he
it's
does
kind of
say,
abrupt.
Yeah.
Irrational savages, what have you done?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what would people do if you scare the hell out of them? it's like come on, Kukulkan. Joel's right. Kukulkan's probably adorable when he curls up to sleep, head under a wing.
What was he like as a baby? He might have been a cute little pet when he was just an infant. maybe Q had Kukulkan as a pet when Q was a youngster eons ago.
Jill, Kukulkan, I want to teach you, but only after you admit you suck and I'm your master.
I'm surprised Peter David. I wonder, did Peter David ever try to tie in Kukulkan to any of the Q stuff? He tried to tie in like all the space gods of Star Trek to Q. So I wonder if he liked the animated series. He had Maress and Eric in some of his books. So
yeah.
Well, Q did appear as that. What was it? What planet was that snake thing from that we saw in the Menage in Lower Decks? And I have no bones, yet I must flee.
Oh yeah.
The snake thing with but I forget where it's Rigelian. It might be Rigelian creature, but yeah, there's that thing. But I also like that. So Kirk's like, oh crap, you can't stop it. All right, fine, McCoy, give me like your most powerful. It was interesting. He said the hypo spray. I didn't realize this because I always imagine like you have to load whatever you're gonna put in it, but it looks like the hypo spray might have like either stored compounds or like the ability to or something, because he says put it into this setting like almost as if like you could just change the setting and it would produce whatever chemical or compound.
Kind of makes sense, because if you're making a medication at a pharmacy, there's sort of like there's some default stuff that you use when you're mixing in the other stuff that makes the medicine.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's like everybody's favorite pen in 5th grade, where it's got the red color and the blue color and the black color, and you just click down which one you want, and then bang, there you go. So
really,
and I mean,
really
usually he's doing sedatives. 90% of McCoy's medicine is sedatives of some sort. So.
He just has them in there, just ready.
Sedatives and analgesics. It's a good point.
I don't think he needs to grab the cat to do that, though. It seems like that's dangerous.
It's 2,000 volts, right? Is that what McCoy said earlier? It's like, it's quite a bit.
That needs to be a say. Someone ought to say, like, grab a Capellan power cat by the tail or something. That sounds like something like Toto would have sign or something. You know, like we've got a Capellan power cat by the tail, Captain, or something like that.
TAS loves its cats. There are a lot of cats in TAS. So does Dorothy, so maybe that might be one of the reasons.
She was a cat lady before it was trendy.
Yeah.
I like Kirk subdues the Capellan cat, and then that uses that as a way of like, all right, will you talk to us now? And I love that Kukulkan says, like, even though you continue to disrespect me, I will hear you out. He's like, you have to throw that in there.
Yeah, he gradually gets less and less majestic as goes on. At the end, he's kind of like waving his tail at a cloud, like Old Man at Cloud.
He's kind of like an empty nester. All the kids are gone, or whatever. There's no purpose.
But alas, Kukulkan agrees to let them go because they do quite a passionate plea about like how we've grown and we're not like we're not the species you encountered over 2,000 years ago or whatnot. And we now work towards peace and all that. And so he's like, all right, okay, I guess you guys can go.
Yes, in the chat, Sleep Stories says the thing that cured him of his 2,000-year-old grudge was this 10-second speech from Kirk. Like, okay, I'm over it, I guess.
That's the Star Trek.
That's very
Star Trek captain. The speechification. You got to speechify sometimes.
That is a really good point. Thank you, Sleep Stories. That's true. Many horns on a power cat show its danger. Yes, it's true. But so then we get that nice little end cap or whatever where they have the little moment where they're like saying, oh yeah, this is like Kukulkan must have inspired all these different civilizations and stuff like that. And I love that Spock's like, well, ancient aliens did actually visit Vulcan, but they left much wiser. But
Vulcans aren't even from Vulcan, so
that's true.
They were alien visitors that came to a planet and decided to stay.
Very cool, very true. Good point.
I do love that little ending because this is such a great name for this episode. I mean, I love that TOS or Star Trek has a long tradition of Shakespearean names, and sometimes they really work for the episode. Sometimes they seem like a stretch. Like I know By Any Other Name was kind of a stretch, but here it really works. Because you have the word serpent in there, and then you have this serpent-like alien. But then also, it kind of goes with the theme of like having a this child or these children that
didn't remember
aren't behaving
you.
as aren't kind of respecting you as you thought they would or should. So it's a great
And
title.
what kid watching Saturday morning cartoons doesn't want to hear a Shakespeare quote?
Well, yeah.
Which is why, like, this is not made for kids. Like, the assumption that it is like, nope, it's not really. It's made for all ages.
I mean, it's the easy way to get good dialogue in your material. Probably why so much media is constantly quoting Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So.
I did think it was interesting. McCoy says, it's like, there's a line from Shakespeare, and Kirk's like, yeah, I remember
I
it.
know
And
it.
he tells us, like, just, okay.
Out of the 10,000 lines from Shakespeare,
He knew the
angels
exact
and ministers of grace.
He knew the exact one, but he also just took McCoy's thunder. It was like,
Yeah.
By the
feels
way,
like
do
maybe
any
that
of
was
you
a
guys
Shatner
Right.
thing. Or, like,
Right.
he has to say it.
Do any of you guys happen to know which Shakespeare play this line is from?
King Lear.
That's
Lear.
right, King Lear.
Act
It's
one
true.
something.
Oh, sorry.
Whenever there's a Shakespeare thing we're discussing on Text Track, I always turn over the mic to Dave and let him explain it because he's the Shakespeare expert of the two of us.
But how many
Bones-
of us who like Shakespeare got introduced to it through Star Trek or something like that, where you get just a hint of
Yeah.
it through a
Oh,
popular
goodness.
culture, and then you move on and really discover it. So I love that they put it in, even if maybe some of it went over the head of some of the kids. Some kids were going to get hooked by that.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Aaron, shall we talk about some of these cool items that you've got here?
Sure. So for the 50th anniversary, I was asked to create some pins for Comic-Con. It's actually one of these. Hi, would you like to create some pins for Comic-Con? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. Can you have them to us tomorrow? It's like, what? It was because Prodigy, got knocked off of Paramount Plus, and they were going to do all this Prodigy stuff, and so they basically had to fill it, which is annoying to me too, because it was like, it's the 50th anniversary of Star Trek or TAS. It should have been something you were doing anyway, but all right. But the good thing is that I'd already started working on the style guide for TAS, so I had some of the stuff going, which is, we did the thing with KukulCon wrapped around the 50, which I thought was kind of fun.
That's a really rad pin. As a matter of fact, is it still available? Because I need to get one. That one's a really cool one.
They were only available at Comic-Con, but they do have
Comic-Con.
Yeah, but remember, I have stuff for you guys. I never got addresses.
Oh, okay. I'll send you my subspace coordinates right away. I mean, my
I
actual
like that
space
pen.
coordinates.
This
Very
other
cool.
piece is, if you recognize it, the mountain is not from that episode. I don't know. This is a problem they had when they sold off all of these assets. They kind of mixed and matched them.
I
Oh, this
see.
looks better or whatever, because people want, I think they assumed that people wanted something that looked cool rather than being actually accurate. So, so this is the scene of them turning the head, and it's got all the different layers, which is kind of fun. And I had posted this on Facebook, and David Wise saw it, and he's like, I'm going to break into your house and get that, because he actually lived like a few blocks from me, which we didn't even realize until later.
Wow.
It's kind of funny. Yeah. Well, he
Very,
took a
very
picture in front of a store that was just down the street from us. I'm like, do you live here? He's like, oh yeah, but I just moved. It's like, oh, okay.
Here's another
frame.
background, right?
Yeah, this is actually from that episode. So
Mhm.
it's not that. It shouldn't be that background right there, but at least they're from
Right.
the same show. So I
That's
thought
a
that
cool
kind of
background though,
worked.
because that's the foundation before as it's building the city, which is really cool. I love that.
It's just
very
like
neat.
geometric pattern too. Like if you put it on the
Yeah.
wall or something, it's kind of neat. Some
That's a
close-ups.
close-up detail. I love the light. The eyes were lighting up as it was being moved closer to the sun,
Yeah.
to its correct position and stuff, which is pretty cool. And then these
And-
drawings are incredible.
Yeah, this is the stuff that Bob Klein had done like a year after the show. Some of this might have actually been from the show, but he mounted them and took them to like colleges and talked about design and stuff like that. So they are pretty.
What I love is showing the scale of the Enterprise here, because I thought it was a huge ship, but you don't really see that scale very well on the episode. But here you see
This
it,
thing
which is cool.
pretty big.
Oh, here, let me put you on the full screen there.
Oh, there you go. Let's see.
That's very cool.
Hmm.
Try to get closer to see if the detail. There you go. You can kind of pick up the detail.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't actually see what I'm doing at this point because it's right in front of the camera. So I don't know where I'm at. So,
That's okay.
Anyway.
We got it. It was very cool.
but yeah, I like the fact that they gave some scale information there. And the that what I was saying before earlier, like I had to draw this for I think I didn't do it for Star Trek Adventures. We were supposed to do it for the style guide. I did a lot of stuff for the style guide. I don't think anybody's ever going to use. Like, who wants a picture of, like the what is it, the robot grain ship? It's cool, but like I don't know what they're going to use it for.
I want a picture
But
of
it was
it.
part of what I was doing. Huh? Oh, Father.
Said I want a picture of a robot grain ship. I love that ship.
Yeah, it is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
apparently it's like one of what is it? Mike Okuda's favorite ship.
Hmm.
He's always liked it. That's which is why he got retconned into
Yeah,
TOS.
maybe Atari look like it.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't get what Father said.
it's like the Antares. It was the Antares
Oh,
that got
like the Antares. Yeah, very cool.
because it
Also,
didn't have a look before or something. I think.
the
or the old
sub commander has had. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just say. I think the wasn't the original effect for that wasn't just. Did we never see it?
Oh,
Or
well, you don't see the Antares, but I think it was
Yeah.
from the Ultimate Computer where there was an ore freighter. It was a grain ship? No, okay, maybe I'm thinking
no,
of
I thought
something
it
else.
wasn't
And
Charlie X.
Charlie
Oh,
X is
man.
when the Antares is in it. There's no effect in it in TOS. But I
Okay,
know, didn't they
They
replace
added into that.
some ore
the
freighter
remaster
that had
they
been?
Yeah.
Yeah, it had been just the DY 100, Botany Bay, but they used it as the ore ship in Ultimate Computer. But in the remaster, they put
Yeah.
some ore ship from TAS, right?
Which makes more
Yeah.
sense than the weird old ship, basically.
Yeah.
Apparently, there was a modified version of a Miranda, and in favor of the Bold in DS9, and it was known as the USS Antares.
Yeah.
and
There's a couple, and there's one in Discovery now.
yeah, exactly. Captain Rayner's ship is the Antares.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Sub Commander also has a little show and tell happening in the background.
Yeah.
There.
Oh
Which
yes,
is,
right.
which is very
That's
cool.
heavy. I don't know if I can pick it up.
Yeah,
but
you don't have to
anyway,
bring it
what
over.
is. It's,
Here, I'll just put you on full screen for a second so people can see it. There you go.
yeah, no, I have a few little replica things. Actually, the piece that this is a replica of is all green. It's an Aztec piece. It's not meant to be the feathered serpent. It's just it's a two-headed snake. But love the iconography from that part of the world. And with this piece, with the Kukulkan in this show, definitely when he's looking straight at you with it looks almost like a mane of feathers sticking out of him. That's pretty clearly from a representation at a site called Teotihuacan, which is pre-Aztec. It's very old, but just that kind of full frontal view with the feathers sticking out. That's not a very typical view of Kukulkan in the Maya region. Anyway, look at Teotihuacan and you'll find that. I'll put the name in the chat, but
Okay.
Oh,
it's
that's
a neat
very
image.
cool.
How do you
So
spell that?
overall, that's why we need it in the chat.
Yeah,
That's what I said. Thank you.
I'm trying to look it up myself. Father's here.
Did we mention that it was also the 100th episode of?
No, we haven't mentioned that yet. So
okay.
good thing. Hold on, let me put it. Wow, we have
It's
two.
also-
We had two fathers for a second, but now we only have one.
There are two fathers. No.
So this is the 100th episode of Star Trek from Where No Man Has Gone Before, right? Because we didn't count the cage.
The Cage
Well,
hasn't
not-
been
it's
seen
not
at
an.
that
It
point.
hadn't. Yeah, it's not an.
It hadn't aired yet. So yeah, the
Yeah.
100th episode, and then we were wondering earlier. If, I guess is this Spock's also 100th appearance then technically?
Yes.
Yep. It's funny because next
if you don't
episode will
count.
be Kirk's because he wasn't in one of the episodes. He wasn't in
the slaver
weapon. Yeah. And this is also the only show at the time, maybe still, that won an Emmy, a children's Emmy, but yeah,
That's
So,
right.
that was
But
cool.
still very cool that it won an Emmy.
Yeah.
Closing
That's
thoughts
a
on
fun
this.
story that I
loved
won't tell now, but just the whole accepting the award thing was pretty funny. Like if you should get our book, you can read about what happened there.
It's very cool. Speaking of which, get your book. Don't forget to get the book. There it is. You can buy it on
This is the 50th
all your
anniversary version. They reprinted it.
Yeah.
The only difference is that there's a logo and some of the little typos were fixed.
Oh, excellent. That's always a good opportunity to do stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's nice.
They
Yeah,
were
so I
going
was-
through a sale at this time when we were doing the book, and we were rushed because of another issue that I'm not going to talk about. But we basically, they said, don't worry, we're going to have our people run through it. So if you've missed any like little misspellings or whatever, we'll get it. No, they didn't. So we kind of were we should have done our own run through, but we were such at the, deadline to get it out to printing. So, but yeah.
I think this is a great idea. We need LeVar Burton to read the book.
That would be fun.
So that would be really awesome.
I
So
think
closing
if we get a third printing, we get to add stuff about Prodigy and Lower Decks because it was just coming out when we wrote that. So we just have to figure out what we have to remove or how we have to keep it the same number of pages. We just have to like kind of condense it somehow.
No, you need a companion book. I think I'm gonna start a thing like you should totally write a companion book that has the modern
Yeah,
series.
people need to buy the printed Star Trek products because the reason why they don't make as many is because they don't sell as well as they used to.
Yeah.
So if the stuff that they're still putting out appeals to you, then buy it. Buy it for other people.
We were
Give
told
it
it
to
was
people.
super rare for them to reprint like a non-fiction book for Star Trek.
Is it possible to also get your book digital, like an iPad version, in other words?
No, I there's a couple people who messaged me, and I feel bad that have specific needs for either sight or sound, or and it's just not available for that. And so I sent somebody a PDF once, which I probably shouldn't have, but I did. I mean, there are people out there who have already ripped the book and put it online. Occasionally, I'll have somebody send me a link to like, hey, this looks like what you would be interested in. Like, yeah,
You're like,
let me just
did you read who wrote it?
Send it off to Miriam Cordry at CBS, and but yeah. So yeah, it would be nice, and that is something that we've asked them a couple times for, and like maybe we can bring that up again, but just for accessibility, it would be nice.
Is there a preferred vendor? Do they sell it on StarTrek.com or Amazon or anything like that?
No, it's on Amazon.
I mean, I bought mine from Amazon, so yeah.
Yeah. So if you can find it at your local bookstore or whatever, that would
that's
be great.
Preferred, yeah.
Yeah. Comic book shops had them a lot too. But at
you
this point
could
now,
get your bookstore to order it too, and they'll
true,
order
yeah.
it. That's true, yeah.
Yep.
So
that's what a
very
couple
cool.
people did. Actually, I think Dave did that for his comic book. I think it was that. But yeah, so that'd be preferable, but you can get it at Amazon.
Most excellent.
I think that was the link that StarTrek.com even had when they were suggesting it at Christmas time.
Well, let's wrap up, guys, and give our closing thoughts. So I love this episode. I was going to say this is like one of the most beautifully animated, colorful, cool design, kind of things. It's nice that, the animated series keeps getting better and better as it goes along. And it was just a fun idea. I mean, the idea of like, we've seen that before, but it was just a good kind of new take on like an ancient alien, if you will, and so on and so forth. I guess like the one critique is about all these kinds of stories is that like I like the humanist approach that comes later, I guess, where it's like, no, humans can do these things. Like we didn't need to be taught by like a godlike creature or anything like that. We have the capacity to come up with these things and do it on our own, but it's also still just so much fun to have a have a story like this about the origins of humanity. So yeah, it's another 10 out of 10 for me. What about you, Father, since you've been kind of you came in a little later, so give us some of your broader thoughts if you want to as well, and give it a rating, and unmute yourself. Don't forget to do that first.
I largely agree with what you were saying about it's a fun episode, but the ancient alien stuff is kind of lame. So I wish that they would have phrased some of that stuff differently.
I have something about that though. Apparently, one of the things that Russell wanted to do was mention that it wasn't just like the cultures that he mentioned, it was the idea was that Kukulkan was supposed to have touched all of the cultures on Earth, but I don't think that came out right because he was trying to basically counter program the idea of the ancient aliens, like by using it essentially. But I think probably in the editing process or something, it just got removed and like, let's just take Britain out of that or whatever. So
Yeah, they had like
unfortunately,
China
we
in
didn't
there.
Yeah. So we're actually going to talk about that at some point. We're hoping to have there's a podcast called It's Probably Not Aliens that talk about ancient aliens a lot. And we're going to have one of the hosts on to discuss this episode.
Very cool.
Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, I think he took the. Oh. He got so mad.
All right. I guess he was not happy with that.
Of course, we know that's not true about Father. Something
now.
must have happened. I don't know what it is. But go ahead. Take it from there, Aaron. What were your thoughts? And if you choose to give a rating, feel free to give it a rating.
Yeah. Probably like a 9 out of 10. The only reason I didn't give it a 10 is like it did kind of like just wrap up in a very weird kind of, not weird, but just his reasoning got a little muddled at the end because they just needed to wrap it up. And I think they had a couple of conflicting ideas, but no, I really enjoyed it. I like that we had a representation of a Earth culture that we hadn't seen before, and it was treated with respect compared to other animated shows at the time. The design is really cool. I like the idea of the holographic outside shell of the ship and stuff. That was really neat. And the picture that you showed up looking like the V'ger thing, I had never thought about that. So that I'm just like, I'm very excited about that. But yeah, so that's 9 out of 10. Very and their voice acting was much better than it had been in a long time. And
really
everybody was together except for Shatner, so I think that made sense.
It's true. But he sounded pretty good. Like he sounded like he was with them, except for the mispronunciations, of course. Sub Commander, what about yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't have much more to say other than what you gents have said. I really enjoyed this episode a lot because of those connections I'm also interested in. But even lay those aside, I think it's visually very stunning. It has a lot of visual interest, and I agree with Aaron. It does maybe could use a little bit more straightening out of what Kukulkan's motivations were at the end, similar to Humorn's for Adonais. But it's an interesting and it was timely for the time. I mean, there was a lot of Maya stuff was becoming more popular then. That's just when they were starting to really get a handle on decoding some of the hieroglyphs and realizing these things are phonetic and they're not just about time in the calendar. They're actually saying things about real people and, kings and all that kind of stuff. And, there was a lot of books, promoting this. On the other hand, a lot of books promoting this idea of ancient aliens and the whole Eric von Däniken effect of, the pyramids were built by Martians or whatever. It was kind of like the Bermuda Triangle was. It was a thing in the 70s.
Yeah.
So they kind of touched on that. It made it, irrelevant at that time. But yeah, I think it's a fun episode, visually great. And I would, I'll give it a 9.9 out of 10.
Very nice. I don't know what happened to our friend Fathery, but it looks like he's not going to be coming back for the end of the stream. So Fathery, hopefully you're all right and you're listening to this. But I'm going to assume that Fathery gives it a 9 out of 10 as well. And so this is a very highly rated episode. Next week,
6.
Next week, we're back with the final installment of this Star Trek animated series discussion here on Starfleet So Hail. That'll be the third series that we've completed and have a episode by episode discussion for. So thank you so much in advance for the audience and stuff. We'll try to do a little ceremony or something like that next week. But next week we are doing the counterclock incident, in which we'll meet Robert April for the first time. And I'm sure there'll be some interesting questions about that. And we get to see the Starfleet
babies.
That'll be
That's
very
why we
fun.
both found that out at the same time.
All right, folks, live long and prosper, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.